Hi, I am that Bastard Aron, and I'm doing this video to describe one of the two movies I just seen last night. I'll do Total Recall later because I don't really understand that. I'm probably not going to review that until I've seen the first movie, but the other one I watched was Batman: The Dark Knight Rises, and if I had to describe it compared to the other two, it's like out of place. Like, first off, the whole movie's based on Ra's al Ghul from the first movie. There's really no reference to the Joker in the second movie at all. Although there's a few things that tie in, like the movie cover from the second one is part of the plot line in the third one. I don't fucking know. But yeah, it's more or less a sequel to the first one than really any relation to the second one at all. I mean, it does take place after the second one, of course. It's 8 years later, and that's how the movie picks up. It takes place. It starts off introducing Bane, obviously, who, mind you, is probably the worst villain I've seen in any Batman movie yet. But, fucking dog. Alright. Introduces Bane, and then it takes place 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight happens. Batman's been in retirement, and Bruce Wayne's kind of like a shutout. I'm not trying to spoil it, but, you know, no one's seen him in 8 years, either of them. And, turns out, it doesn't explain how, but Bruce has no cartilage in any of his joints, so he's like Dr. House. He just has a little stick, and I think he needs medication. I don't know if they said it or not, but I know he goes to the doctors a lot and shit. But yeah, he's fucked. He can't be Batman if he tried. And Bane at the same time comes in, and try not to spoil it really, but from then on out, the events that take Bruce from this cripple with a cane that can't even walk, and without it, he can't even crawl, he can't do shit, he just lays in bed. You gotta take him back into Batman, full force, able to take on Bane, who's, mind you, superhuman, but fucking fly. So, the plot to get to that is kind of unrealistic, I guess is the way to put it, because through the help of Fox, Morgan Freeman, whatever you want to call him, I'm gonna call him Fox. He helps him, but he doesn't fix the problem, and shit like that, just like every other movie. And well, what else can I say? Bane. I'm not gonna say what happens to Batman. It's just in 4 months, what happened couldn't have happened, unless he had a really good Bowflex, but I highly doubt that. Anyway, Bane, villain-wise, Ra's al Ghul trained Batman, and then he had the Scarecrow help Ra's al Ghul use Bruce Wayne's own invention against him, take it to Wayne Industries, and destroy the city. Something like that. I haven't seen the movie in a couple of years, but I know something along the lines of using gas, okay? That was pretty badass, and the fight between Ra's al Ghul and Batman was relatively even. It was pretty good. Then you get to The Dark Knight. The Joker did, fucking a shit ton of things in one movie. Like the boats with each other's able to bomb it. Rachel, Harvey Dent being the second villain that comes in. His last card, what else did he do? I haven't seen that movie in 2 years anyway. But I know he did a lot of things. One thing after another, trying to kill the mayor and all that shit, Gordon. But after the Joker failed, he would come back with another plan. That hierarchy's the other plan that leads into another and just keeps going in a circle until he got caught, which is when Harvey came in. Bane doesn't really do that much. He's still a villain, but if anything, he's more like that philosophical tough guy that oh, my laptop should not do that. He's philosophical. That's the way I like to describe it, because if you've seen it, you'll understand he has a way with words. But besides that, he just kind of comes into the city and takes over. They organize a plan, kind of like the Joker would, a very well organized, detailed plan into taking control and making the city theirs. But the fact that Bane doesn't really do anything, he doesn't really kill anybody. There's death, but he doesn't really do it himself. He doesn't really cause much crime. He robs a fucking stock exchange or something, but besides that, most of the time, Bane's kind of like king in the castle. He's in charge, but he doesn't do shit. And the only time you really see him fighting is when the end of the movie comes around, when there's that whole big fight scene with him and Batman and amongst the other people. It's a big anarchy brawl in the middle of winter, but yeah, like, the Joker actually wanted to kill people, and the Joker did kill people. Bane kind of created a monarchy amongst Gotham City using a bomb that Bruce himself and some Russian scientists, I don't know which invented it. Bruce had it, but I guess a scientist invented it. I don't fucking know. The story would arc and go back, and the villain ended up being Ra's al Ghul, then it go to Bane, then it would go to Ra's al Ghul's son, who was Bane, who wasn't actually Bane because it was a girl who was Bane's son. I don't fucking know. It was like being your own grandfather. God fucking knows how it happens. It just works. Anyway, as I was saying, shit. So, using this bomb that someone invented, Bane pretty much has control of the city. Now, obviously everyone knows, you know, the bomb gets blown up, fixed, whatever you want to call it. I don't fucking know. It doesn't kill people. Bane gets defeated. The Joker, he went to jail after getting the shit kicked out of him by Batman. You know what happens to Bane? He gets shot with a missile. You know what happened to Ra's al Ghul? He got blown up in a train because I think he got blown up in a train, did he? I don't know. I know that the train, like, blew up or some shit because Batman stopped it, blew up the tracks with Gordon's help. But, yeah. And like I said, I'm not trying to spoil it, but he gets fucking blown up by a missile, and that's it. Like, you don't even know if he's actually died or not. He just, missile, boom, he goes flying, that's it. That's the end of Bane. The actual villain, I'm not going to say who it is, but she gets, like, yeah, I already, fine. She gets, like, 5 minutes of airtime. Like, the actual main person who's going to kill everybody, and had the intention to kill everybody, and actually fuck shit up, 5 minutes of airtime. You don't even, like, in the 5 minutes, that's also when you get introduced to her. She's not in the movie at all until then. And like I said, story arc. When she gets in, like, the 10 story arcs that keep going back and fucking forth, just goes, it's in another country, fuck that. And Bane, in the comics, he's from the Caribbean. Here, he's like a Russian with a hardcore accent. He doesn't talk like this and want his vodka. He talks like a Russian, just doesn't have the accent. But, and sometimes it's hard to understand him. I thought he would have a really deep, raspy voice, kind of shit, but no, he's just sounds like a guy, I don't know. He sounds like a Russian without the deep, heavy accent. I don't really know what he is. I couldn't catch on to half the shit he said, but overall, the Joker was a hell of a lot better villain, and this is more of a sequel to the first movie than it is an actual Batman movie in the trilogy or whatever. And the ending really kind of pissed me off. It pissed me off, but actually it took things from the beginning and threw it into the end, which I enjoy that. You find out that there's definitely going to be a sequel, like, no doubt about it, with the way that it ended. The very end, it just kind of everything clicks, and if you know the comics, you'll know what happens. But, like, just the cop in the movie is going to surprise you. Alfred has a dream fantasy type thing, and that's going to come back. There's the fact that Rachel is brought back into it, not alive, but her, Alfred, and Batman are going to collide in a plot twist, stuff like that. Like, for a Batman movie, I give it a 4 out of 10, but for a movie in general, it was probably like an 8 out of 10. Like, it was still a pretty good movie, but if you really liked Batman like I do, or you've seen the second one, you probably won't like this one at all. But it's like a sequel to the first one, because it has nothing to do with the Joker, and it brings Harvey Dent into it, but after, like, the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, who's Harvey Dent? They bring him up in the beginning, and then Bane brings him up once, but overall, like, it pretty much has, like, 1% to do with The Dark Knight, and the rest of it's kind of just Batman Begins. But alright, that's my review of it. I would recommend you go see it, but you're probably going to be really disappointed. But overall, like I said, it's a good movie, just they could have done a lot better, especially with Bane, for the badass he was supposed to be. But alright, this is my review of The Dark Knight Rises, and that was a burp. And